Hello and welcome to today's podcast. I'm Kim. This is Kim's Wellness Space, and you are so welcome to be here. I love it when I know that people are listening to these little chats that I have. If you're new here, thank you so much for finding me, pressing play. If you are someone that regularly listens, thank you so much for coming back and listening to another episode. First of all, I just would like to say I may stumble over my words today. I'm recording this. I am quite tired, but it's important for me to share these podcasts. One, when I've got the thoughts in my head, I have notes, but I like to do it when the thoughts are fresh. But also, it's important to me that one of these podcasts comes to you every week. So here I am. I am a bit tired. My words may come out in a funny order, but hopefully by the time we get to the end, it will all make sense. So what are we chatting about today? Today, I'm just looking over here at my notes. Today, the gist of what I want to talk about really is what I'm doing over on YouTube. Excuse me. But I've heard this phrase a couple of times in the last 2 weeks about data being our GPS. And so that's what I called this episode, because I just thought it was really good. And I will come back and explain it a bit more. But to me, it just made sense. But what am I doing over on YouTube? So ages ago, 90 days ago, to be fair, in actual fact, I decided that it would be a really good idea to make a short YouTube video every day tracking what a wellness journey actually looks like. Now, before I started doing this, what was on my YouTube channel? Well, I had quite a lot of podcasts because after the first 6 months of making these podcasts, I then put them onto YouTube. So I was kind of used to seeing my face and hearing my voice on YouTube. Not that I really watch them that much, but obviously when you edit things and upload them, you do hear yourself, and it is a bit weird to start with. So that was on there. I'd also been doing Sunday segments. I did 15 of those where I'd videoed myself and uploaded them. They were quite basic, but I didn't want to wait until I knew everything about YouTube or until I was perfect. So I started the YouTube channel pretty much the same way as I started this podcast. I picked up my phone, recorded myself, and uploaded it. And since then, I've learned how to add music. I've learned how to fade the music in and out. I've learned how to put text on the videos. I have learned how to do picture in picture. There's so many things that I have now broadened my skill set. If I had waited until I knew everything before I started, I probably still would be learning, because the best way to learn is just to jump in and get on with it. And, I am lucky. One of my sons is very good at this sort of stuff, and he quite often critiques me in a really positive way. Like, he absolutely is my biggest champion, but he also says, Mum, that's not right, or this would look better, or if you just did this a little bit, or did you know you could do this? And so that's really helpful. And that's how we learn, isn't it? Like that, and watching other YouTube videos and seeing what people do and, learning. But it's just a case of practicing, like all things. So I had been listening to a podcast and just had this inspiration while I was walking, listening to this podcast, that actually what I could do is I could just come onto YouTube every day. I didn't give myself a length of time that the YouTube videos had to be, but it was literally just a daily checking in. Like, how hard could it be to daily check in for 100 days? Actually, it's really hard, really hard. And although I was doing it so that I could share what a real wellness journey looked like, rather than a social media quick glance, I actually learned a lot about myself, which is always the case whenever I find I do anything, I always am able to observe myself doing these things. And I find it so fascinating. Like, you think you know yourself, and then you do something different, and it's like, I didn't know myself at all. So it was very interesting. So I started on day one, as you do, whenever you do anything on day one, full of enthusiasm. Oh, this is going to be really easy. I'll just record myself. I'll pop it on YouTube. Not a problem. Hadn't really given much thought to what I was actually doing in the next 100 days, like, sort of personally at home, what life was doing. And maybe if I thought about that a little bit, I might have said, actually, I'll wait until all of that's done and then I'll start. But I'm really pleased that I didn't do that, because I think the videos that I recorded are more realistic. They're more raw. Some days I forgot and I had to quickly record one in the morning and pop it on saying, oh my goodness, I forgot, because and so I think it's much more authentic. So if you want to go back and watch it from day one, today I'm on day 90. I'm very close to the end, and I actually think I'm going to miss it. And I've already started to think about what I could do next, because I quite enjoy that type of sharing. And as much as I love my podcast, as much as I love sharing things on Instagram, doing a vlog on YouTube it's just different, isn't it? And people can interact in a different way. And I don't know, I enjoy it. So I definitely will carry on within a different vein within wellness. But yeah, it's interesting. So I started on day one with all that enthusiasm of the beginner. And I think I was only on day 4 or 5 when I was like, oh my goodness, actually, why did I start this? Like, I'm only on day 4, I think it was. Can't remember. Might have been day 5. I'm doing this for 100 days. And do I really want to do this? This is much more challenging than I thought it was going to be. I found myself, really fighting with myself about it. I've only done 4 days. Nobody will notice if I stop. I could just slide away. I could delete the ones that I'd done and just pretend that, nothing had happened. Then I had to remind myself, well, why was I actually doing this? Why did I want to start it in the first place? I wanted to do it because I wanted to show people that having a health and wellness life is not a 6-week challenge. It's a life thing. And so I kept going. And then we went on holiday to the UK, and we were traveling around the country visiting people. So straight away I was in a different time zone. I didn't have all my normal equipment with me. I am absolutely not someone that feels comfortable videoing myself in front of other people. Like, everything I do with the door closed, or like when my husband's out. I know that I'm sometimes around in the house, and I know he probably can hear me, but I'm not aware particularly. But I definitely don't feel comfortable doing it in front of other people. So that was a challenge. Like, how was I going to do this daily update when I wasn't even in my own house? I was staying at other people's houses. So a lot of those videos in that first kind of 20 days, I'm talking really quietly because I'm whispering because I've shut myself in a room somewhere, or they're really fast because I've just dashed into the kitchen to do a quick update before anybody comes in the kitchen and catches me doing things. And it wasn't that I was embarrassed of what I was doing. I think it's a good thing. And I had told people, it's just that I do not feel comfortable yet. After all this time, all this talking that I do in front of people, with people, I mean, I spend my life talking to people online in one way or another, but I still don't feel comfortable recording myself on a video. So that was quite challenging. And then, of course, because we were away, I wasn't in my routine for my normal food because we were eating out. We were, other people were cooking for us. I didn't have my yoga mat with me. I didn't have my weights with me. So my movement was very different. But again, all of these things were really good because actually that is what happens in life. If you're going to say, as from today, I'm going to start improving my health, improving my wellness, you've got to take everything that comes along. You can't wait for the perfect moment to start because when is the perfect moment? Are you going to go live in a cave? No, of course you're not. So there's always going to be weddings and birthdays and celebrations and people popping in, or invitations out, or, you know, you'll be away on holiday, or, you know, there's always things that come along, aren't there? And so that's when having good knowledge and being able to flex really, really begins to pay off, because you know the things that you can do, the minimum things that you can do that will keep you going along. And then once life gets back to normal, then you can go full pelt again, because you don't want to miss out on making memories. You don't want to miss out on spending time with, you know, your family, grandchildren, friends, whatever it may be, life experiences. You want to experience all of that. But at the same time, maybe you don't want to throw in the towel and be like, throw caution to the wind, because it's not going to damage you in, you know, if you're away for a week. It's not a major disaster if you don't work out for a week, or if you know, eat all the sweets for a week, or I don't know, whatever it is that's your thing. But then, of course, if you keep going, then you've kind of gone back to how you were before you decided that you were going to make improvements to your life. And let's not forget that we're making these improvements for our life for when we're older. We're not doing any of these things to benefit us now. I mean, some things do benefit us straight away, absolutely. But really, it's all of this health and wellness that we're doing. We're investing for our old age so that we can all be kick-ass grannies, you know, responsible for ourselves. If we trip over, we can stand back up. If we want to reach the shelf, we can. If we want to carry our shopping in, we can. You know, we were laughing a couple of weeks ago because ages ago now, when we were out walking the dogs, I lost my footing. Like the ground underneath was a bit rough and my trainer just slipped. And before I knew it, I was on my knees laughing because I'd slipped over. And I said, oh, I just slipped and, you know, fell over. My son said, oh, Mum, you had a fall, did you? And he was we were laughing about it. And then when we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, I said, I wonder where the line changes. I wonder what happens for it to become, oh, I fell over, to, oh, you've had a fall, because that sounds different, doesn't it? And I decided that actually, if you have a fall, it's because you can't get yourself back up again. If you fall over, you get back up, you just fell over. But if you have a fall, it means that you can't push yourself back up on your own. And so that's quite a distinct difference, isn't it? And that's why we do all this health and wellness, because we don't want to be falling. We want to just, oh, I fell over and then I got up. So yeah. So anyway, I've kind of gone off on a tangent a little bit there, but bringing it back to the 100 days, all of these things that could have been barriers or could have been problems or could have made me fail, although I'm keeping trying, so I'm never failing. You know, that just helped me actually navigate what I was doing and show people, oh, this is what happened today and this is normal. Oh, do you know what? This happened today and this is normal. You know, I was having fun. I forgot to record my video last night, but here is what happened yesterday. Some days I didn't even have anything to say. Some days it was like, I don't really know what to say today because it's just been a normal day. And that is my update. It was just a normal day, because actually, when you get into this messy middle, as people like to say, of your wellness, it is just about falling in love with the boring stuff. Like you're not inventing the wheel. There's nothing super amazing going on. You're just repeating the things that work for you. So you know what time to go to bed. You know what time you're getting up in the morning. You may have your morning routine and you know how that feels and why you do it. You know what movement you love and you do that. You know the foods that make you feel amazing, and so you eat them. And that's it. And then it's just the same over and over and over and over again. And you just have to fall in love with that process, because the more you do it, the better you feel. The better you feel, the more you want to do it. But you don't want to hold on too tight. You want to be able to flex. So while I was doing this, I was collecting data. And so the data that I was collecting was that I was weighing myself every day, and on a Monday, taking all of my measurements and a photograph. Now, I didn't do very well with the photographs. I did take kind of a photograph as I started because I wanted a cover for the YouTube videos. And then life happened and it got really busy and I hadn't taken a photograph. And I did say, oh my goodness, I need to take a photograph. I think it took me another maybe week or so before I took one. I don't think I've taken one since. So the whole photo thing has not been very successful. But, you know, photos are a really good way because you can see your body's changing. So if you are someone that is tracking how you're doing through the year, photos, I would highly recommend photos. The scales, I know people have a lot of emotion tied into the scales. So it does depend what sort of person you are and what your experience has been so far. And I do not want to be telling you to stand on the scale every day if it's something that's going to really upset you and it's going to, ruin your whole day or your whole week, or you just haven't got the capacity to be dealing with that number. But what I would want to say is that the number on the scales is not anything other than what your body is weighing in gravity on that square. It's got nothing to do with your self-worth. It's got nothing to do with your character. It's got nothing to do with, anything. It literally is just a number as part of a bigger picture. So I wanted to weigh myself every day because I've done it so much now that it doesn't actually bother me. And one of the things that I did do, which really helped me, because of course, I'm human. I also have had days in the past where I've got on the scales and gone, oh my God, I can't believe I'm looking at that number. That's it. Everything's awful. Life's terrible. I'm useless, blah, 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 blah. We've all done it. I don't do that anymore. I know that it's just a number and it's part of all of the data that I'm collecting. But one thing I did do was I changed our scales from the unit measurement. So rather than getting on and seeing it in stones, I changed it to kilograms. And I did that because I can't automatically in my head change the kilogram weight to the stones and pounds weight. And of course, I can go on my app or on the internet or whatever and find out what it is. Of course, I can. And from time to time, I will do if I need to for whatever I'm doing. But I don't have any emotion tied to a kilogram number. Like in my head, if I had to pick a number that I wanted to weigh when I stood on that scales, it would be in stones and pounds. I have no emotion attached to kilograms at all. I couldn't even tell you what kilogram amount would be something that I would strive for. I just absolutely don't know. I don't have any attachment to kilograms at all. So that actually really helped. And then the fact that you get on every day means you just get used to seeing the numbers change, and they change every day because that's how our body works. That is completely normal. And once you understand that, and once you can do it for so long, it is just data. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a number. So that also was a really good thing for me to be doing in this 100 days, because I absolutely could show people, this is what I've done, and this is what my scale weight was today. And it's like that because of X, Y, or Z. Or this is, and then I had a really interesting week in the middle, which I was so pleased about because it kind of, it was the most brilliant example that I could have wished for. So I had got up, it was Monday, I got on the scales and weighed, I took all my measurements. And that morning when I got out of bed, I felt fluffy. I suppose that's what I would call it. Now, my body is changing this year. I don't know, because, we never know completely, do we? But I would say my periods have stopped now. But every now and again, obviously my hormones are doing whatever they need to do, and I don't know, tidying the edges, however the body is doing this changeover. And so sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh, I feel my body feels a bit fluffy this morning. So on this particular Monday, it's exactly what it felt. It felt a bit fluffy. And so I did my measurements. The scale was up. That kind of worked because, I was feeling fluffy. So I had actually expected it to go up. It hadn't gone up a lot, just a little tiny bit. But when I did my measurements, every single one of my measurements was down. And it wasn't down like a little bit. It was down loads. Like I'd lost I can't remember exactly without looking, but it was something like 2 inches off my chest and 2 inches off my hips and half an inch off both my arms. So overall, there was quite a lot of inches gone. And my body fat percentage was down. And I just thought that was really interesting because I hadn't changed anything. I had literally been doing the same thing over and over again, over and over again, over and over again for all of these days. And slowly the weight is coming down. I'm not aiming for anything particular. I don't have a goal in sight. I just want to feel amazing and I want to feel strong. And that is exactly what I'm feeling. And on this particular day, I had been doing everything exactly the same, but I felt fluffier. The scales told me that I was feeling fluffier and they had gone up, but actually all the other data was down. So I knew that what I was doing was working. Now imagine if I had got out of bed that day and I literally just got on the scales with no other information at all, because I just randomly got up and gone, oh, do you know what, this morning I'm going to weigh myself because I feel a bit fluffy. I mean, that would have been a whole different conversation in my head, I guess. So it's really important to, if you're going to collect data, collect all of it and do it all the time. I don't measure myself every day. I mean, I guess I could. That's more data. It's not going to be harmful. It's going to be a bigger picture. But actually, I only do that once a week. But also with the scale weight, once you've got to the end of the week, you can add it all up, divide it by 7, and then you get like an average of what your weight is over the week, which gives you a much better picture than just, looking at that one day of scale. So that was really good. I was so pleased that day when I did that video because I was like, this is absolutely perfect example of just trusting the process, keeping going. Nothing had changed. I didn't need to knee-jerk react to the scales because I knew everything else was okay. I could just keep going. 2 days later, the scales came down and, then I carried on. So the data is really, really important. And, you might not want to know that it's not going to happen in 6 weeks. You might listen to that and think, oh, God, how long is it going to take me? But honestly, I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to take you. I can't tell you that because I don't know how 100% in you are on this. We're all completely different. We all have to find what works for us. And then, you have to decide, is every day going to be absolutely on it? Or are you only going to be on it for 5 days and maybe not at the weekend so much? Or when you go on holiday, you're just going to let it all go and then come back to it? Like, there's no wrong answer. Everybody does it completely differently. But that all makes a difference to how long it's going to take you. And for me, I don't have an end goal because, as I said a moment ago, my goal is to feel full of beans, full of energy, feeling amazing, which is exactly how I feel now. And I just want that to keep going forever until I take my last breath. So I don't have an end goal. I just I feel fabulous. How more fabulous can I feel? And for me, that works. So if I made you sad when I said it's not going to happen in 6 weeks, I'm sorry. But if you do anything for just 6 weeks, I don't think you really learn. And I'm going to say that again. I know that you don't actually learn anything new. What you do is you restrict, you go at it hell for leather, but at the end of the 6 weeks, you will probably go back to how you were before. Whereas if you take it slowly, find out all these different things, go through the motions, collect your data, keep checking back in with yourself, and have a very long-term goal, like when you're 100, you will observe things about yourself. You will see habits. You'll be able to let go of bad habits. You'll be able to introduce new habits. And that's exciting because you get to choose every day. When you wake up in the morning, you get to choose, what sort of day am I going to have today? And you can absolutely go for it. And those people that you are watching, those people that you're looking at, and you're thinking, God, they make it look so easy and they've got amazing results. That's what they do. They get up every morning and they're like, right, what am I going to do today to make myself feel brilliant? What do I know that works? What can I do? What's in my control? And that is what I'm doing. And it's not about holding on tight to it. It's about learning to, like I said earlier, flex with things so that you can still enjoy life. I don't want anybody thinking that they can't leave the house and go and have a meal. Absolutely, you can. It's just finding what works for you, finding your flow, and quite honestly, just letting go of the whole losing weight thing. Focus on all the good things that make you feel amazing, and the weight loss will come as a byproduct if your body needs to lose weight. And so getting back to the GPS, data is your GPS, which is what the heading of this episode is. I've heard it a few times in the last 2 weeks, and I've just found it really interesting. Sometimes you hear things and it's like, oh my God, that really resonates with me. And that and it's terrible. I can't even remember where I heard it. Normally I'd tell you like, oh, it was on this podcast or that person on Instagram. And I honestly, for the life of me, I've had so much going on. I can't even remember where I saw it, it's really annoying because I like to give credit to people when they come up with these things or I hear them say it. And it may be that it wasn't their idea. Maybe they heard it from someone else, but at least you can kind of trail it back a bit, can't you? But anyway, what they were saying was, if you were to jump in your car and you were going to a destination that you hadn't been to before, and you just got in your car and started driving, it would probably take you quite a long time to get to your destination because you don't really know where you're going. You don't know the best route. You don't know the obstacles in the route. And so you probably would get there in the end, but it's going to take you a while. And so that's why data is like your GPS. That's why tracking calories is like your GPS, because you have more of an idea of what you're doing. You have some clues, you have data, you can have a look. So yes, you will get to your end goal, but if you have this GPS with you, so tracking your calories and your macros, or tracking your data, or keeping a food diary, or being kept accountable, whatever it is that works for you, that means that your success will come quicker because you have direction. So it's entirely up to you. You can wing it and just kind of hope that you get there, and you probably will at some point, or you can gather this information, you can make a little bit of a plan, you can get yourself some accountability, and then you have direction, and then you'll find that your results start coming in sooner rather than later. And I love that. I just thought that was so good. It made so much sense in my head. Like, yeah, you don't have to track your calories. Like, I don't particularly like tracking my calories, but if I track them, then I know what I'm eating. If I don't track them, then I'm kind of guessing. And that's kind of like having a bit of a diversion on the road that that you're not used to traveling down, isn't it? You're still going to get to the end, but it's just going to take you longer. So why not make it a bit easier for yourself? I just love that. I love things like that. Really ticks a box in my head. Anyway, that's pretty much what I wanted to share today. So if you're interested, go over to YouTube, have a look at that. How good can it get in 100 days? Don't expect amazing reveals because that's not what it's about. That 100 days, and as I said, I'm on day 90. That 100 days is just me recording every day what happened. Nothing earth-shattering, but just following a process that works for me. I don't want you to copy it, but absolutely be inspired by it and go find your own journey. And yeah, I've got 10 days left. And then I will have shared one video every day for 100 days, which in anything is an accomplishment without anything else. You know, I've really honed my YouTube skills. I'm not a professional by any mark, but I definitely am much better than when I started. And I have really enjoyed the process. I've enjoyed learning that actually, even though I still have all this knowledge, I still fight against myself. I still trip myself up. I still get in my own way. You know, I'm human. I'm like you. I, still have days where I eat all the crisps that I wasn't planning on eating, or I still have days where I don't eat enough or overeat or say I'm going to move and then I don't move because I'm tired, or all the normal things. But yeah, it's been a really interesting process. So if you're interested, absolutely pop over to YouTube, have a look, and leave some comments on anything that is interesting. I always love to talk to you. I love to hear your points of view on these things. So thank you so much for listening today. If you are listening to this podcast in real time, I am actually doing a free masterclass on Monday, the 17th of June with Sarah Snape, and we are busting the myths of self-care. Now, this is a free masterclass. There is a replay available if you're not available to come on live. I will put the information in the show notes with a link so that you can register, so that you don't miss the replay if you can't join us live. But this is not bubble baths and hot chocolate self-care. This is actually real self-care, and we will leave you with knowledge, information, actions that you can take into your own life when you're ready in your own way, because self-care and self-worth is so important. And that is going to be an epic masterclass. I can't believe that we're actually doing it for free. So if that interests you, have a look in the show notes for the registration link, or just come find me on Instagram and I can send it to you direct. But anyway, thank you so much for listening today. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast, and I will speak to you all again very, very soon.